name is Lori Duskolski. I am the Assistant Director in the Financial Aid Office. Our Financial Aid Office consists of about 17 people. We handle scholarships, student loans, federal work study, VA benefits, all the federal aid programs, which include the loans, the grants, Parent Plus loans, that kind of stuff. Okay, so satisfactory academic progress is monitoring students and their federal aid eligibility. Now, students are monitored on 3 different standards. For instance, we have the UW-CUME GPA has to be 2.0 or higher. We also have to make sure that students are completing 67% of the courses that they're enrolled in, and that does include UW hours along with transfer work. So that is their overall earned hours divided by their overall attempted hours, and that percentage has to be 67% or higher. Then we also monitor the maximum time frame. So maximum time frame is relevant to how many attempted hours a student has had. Along with that, that is also included with the transfer hours as well. And for a first bachelor's degree, a student cannot attempt more than 180 hours for their first degree, 220 for a second bachelor's degree, and 45 hours for most master's degree programs. So the biggest issue that we have with transfer students is the maximum time frame or maximum credit hour limit. We have a higher number of credit hours that seem to follow with transfer students because they don't start here. And sometimes they may not only have just one associate's degree, but multiple before they even get here. So they could be very close to their 180-hour limit before they even reach a 4-year institution. So the issue we seem to have mostly with first-year students are sometimes keeping the GPA where it needs to be, or completing enough hours because they think that maybe, oh, I'm not doing very well in this class, so I'll just withdraw from it. Or if they're just doing kind of so-so in their classes, their GPA may be below the 2.0 that's required because college work is a lot different than high school. I think it's important for the students, the advisors, and possibly myself in the financial aid office, if a student is being either flagged for satisfactory academic progress or on warning, which means they're on the cusp of possibly having an issue, that we kind of collaborate and talk together. I do know that sometimes there is some miscommunication between the students and the advisors, whereas they say, okay, yeah, maybe you should withdraw from that class because it'll protect your GPA, but maybe they already have an issue with completion rate and it's not totally being reviewed because there's more than one issue that we do look at. We look at all 3 of them at the end of each semester. So when we are reviewing SAP academic plans or appeals, we are looking for students to actually give us information. What is it that made them not be able to academically succeed? Or what was the outside component that prevented them from doing well in classes? Whether it was an illness or a death in the family, maybe they're seeking counseling, maybe their medications are changing. We do have sometimes get appeals that don't have very much in them. And what happens is that the appeals get denied. And then we find out later that the student had been hospitalized or their medications had changed like 3 times in the year, or, you know, mom was going through chemo, things that they don't really discuss. So we do try to tell them to explain it in your letter, provide documentation to support your appeal. So if a student is on a SAP academic plan, they are required to complete all the courses that are listed on their plan each term, complete 100% of them, no fails, no withdrawals, grades a C or better, and a C minus does not count because it is not the equivalent of a 2.0 when with regards to GPA. So if they fail in any one of those categories, then they'll have a failed academic plan and have to do a semester on their own. We hear things like, well, I didn't know anything about it. How come nobody told me? What do I need to do to appeal? How come I have to do this? So a lot of them don't understand that it not only affects their grants or work study, but it also affects their student loans. So sometimes students don't think that student loans are part of federal financial aid or the ability for a parent to take out a Parent Plus loan if they are on SAP, so that even the parents can't help them. We do have students that will say, well, my advisor told me to withdraw, so which has a tendency when they're on a SAP plan to create a failed academic plan. But a lot of times the students have met with their advisor, they know what the rules are. We created a SAP acknowledgement form, which basically tells students what their responsibilities are. Another misconception is if they change their classes, they seem to think that it is the advisor's job to update the academic plan. And so we do put that responsibility on the student, and they sign off on the statement stating that they know it is their responsibility to get our office an updated SAP academic plan, or they'll have a failed academic plan at the end of the term. I would tell advisors to make sure that the courses that the students are enrolling in, make sure that they're capable of doing it. A student that chronically enrolls for 19 or 20 hours and drops down to 12 every single semester, eventually they're going to have an issue with completion rate because they're not completing enough hours. Also, I would tell them to make sure they're not taking classes that they don't need, because towards the end, when students are flagged for maximum credit hours, we only allow them to take exactly what is needed for their program. So if they are down to 9 hours and they take 3 in fall and aren't eligible for federal aid, and then get financial aid the very last semester with 6 hours, there's not a whole lot we can do about that when they're at that point and they're over the hours, but they're only allowed to take exactly what is left to fulfill their degree requirements. I would just think that if you have any questions, or especially the new advisors, if they have any concerns when a student brings an appeal form to you, and if you have any questions as to what's needed on the form, feel free to call me and or email me, because I do a lot of one-on-one with advisors across the campus. And because sometimes they're not quite sure why the student's on SAP, because maybe the last 2 years they've been an awesome student, but it may be something that maybe we just got a bunch of transfer work in that we didn't have before. And so maybe it put them over credit hour limit, or they've been taking classes at LCCC as well as UW, and the transcript comes in and there's like 30 hours on there or something like that. So there could be issues that follow them too that advisors may not be aware of. And I can walk them through. You guys, the advisors, can see most of the screens that I can see, so I can kind of explain to them what it is, how we figure it out. A lot of students see the earned hours as being their maximum hours, but it's really not off of earned, it's off of attempted, and it's off of overall, so which includes the UW and the transfer, and I think they sometimes get confused. What I do enjoy the most is students that start off pretty rocky and wind up obtaining their degree. And they come back in and they're like, thank you. Or sometimes I'm out in public and they'll say, do you work in the financial aid office? Is your name Lori? And I'm like, yes. And they're like, oh, you approved my appeal. Thank you so much. And so there is some gratitude in that, knowing that they've been able to finish their degree and achieve their goal.